Hello everyone, this is Professor CA Kartik Iyer on the Unacademy platform, and I teach CA Inter Audit and Law on Unacademy. Okay. Now, before starting today's session in relation to how to write your law paper and how to prepare it so that you can score excellent marks in your exam, let's look at some of the features that Unacademy has to provide. Okay, so let's see this. You can watch my next special class for free and you can learn a lot of things on Unacademy. Okay. You can get the link to the class description. You can ask your doubts via screenshots and in writing. Now, voice chat with education in a live special class is also applicable. You can take live quizzes and polls and get a real-time ranking. So basically, we can conduct a competition and ensure that and see who is coming first in that. Okay. Next is follow my profile and get notified whenever I am live so that you can connect with me. A subscription that is more than just a class. So for Unacademy provides you plus subscriptions as well as iconic subscriptions. Iconic subscriptions are just a tad better. You can see the benefits there. Along with all the benefits that you get of plus subscription, you can also get personal coaching, then printed books, evaluated test series, discussion channels. All these things are part of the iconic subscription. Okay. With a plus subscription, you have a 10% discount if you use the code YashasLive. Okay. With the iconic subscription, you also get 10% off with the code YashasLive. Okay. So what is stopping you? Go ahead and subscribe to Unacademy. You can get all the benefits. You can watch all the lectures of so many well-renowned faculties, and you can increase your knowledge with excellent knowledge source available at Unacademy. Okay. Now let's start with today's session today. Okay. Let's start with that part. Okay, everyone. Today we are looking at how to prepare and write your law paper and to score excellent marks in your examination. So how to ensure that you write your law paper in such a way that you get great marks. Okay, so let's see this. Now, in this topic, today I'll be going point by point in relation to a lot of areas. Okay, the session that I'm going to take right now will be close to around 1 hour. Okay, and this will be to ensure that this is your one-stop video in relation to your CA Inter law preparation. Okay, I'll be going extensively into how you need to go step by step from starting with the notes and preparation. We'll be discussing till the time you end your exam paper. Okay, so entire journey I'll be telling you here, and I'll be guiding you in relation to this part. First is in relation to the notes and preparation part. Okay, now in relation to the notes and preparation, you have to take care of few areas. Okay, first of all, ensure that your notes are compact. Compact. Why do I say this? I've seen students who study law, they go through extensive books, they go through books which are thicker in size, but what happens is in the end they are unable to complete that just before the exam. So what happens because of that is they lose their confidence just before the exam. They know that they have not studied few chapters, and that's where they lose the marks. So at the beginning, when you're studying from thick book, you might feel good, you might feel excellent. But what happens is when just before the exam, you're unable to complete that before the main paper. And that is where I've seen students lose confidence. I'm not asking you to skip any area, not at all, but you have to go for notes which are compact. When I say compact, it means that if you study that much, that will fetch you easily 75 plus marks in the examination. So go for notes which are compact and you're easily able to complete the portion. So the first golden rule in relation to notes and preparation is go for notes which are compact. Point number 2. Comprehensive coverage is a must. I have seen many students do their respective analysis. They make all kinds of charts. They do all the analysis. Okay, this was asked in the May 19 exam, November 19 exam. This question was asked in May 20 exam or the May 21 exam. Or as the case may be, May 20, or which got postponed to November 20, or it was asked in the May 20 RTP and then it was asked in the November exam. Okay, so something like that. They do all kinds of these analysis in the end, and they are good at one thing, and that is analysis. They're excellent in analysis, but when it comes to execution, it is not there. What I tell the students generally is only one golden rule, and that is don't leave anything in option. Okay, never ever leave anything in option. Why do I say that? It is because whenever you study, you should study each and every area. You should ask the doubt to the respective faculty. If you are finding any difficulty, I'm very sure that all the doubts, all the faculties who are there on Unacademy will be very happy to take it up and solve it for you. So you have to ensure that you are studying in a manner which leads to growth, which leads to more coverage of the areas. And you should not have the attitude of, let's say that, okay, let me leave this chapter. Let me hope that questions don't come from this chapter. That is a short way of failing in the CA exams. Okay. So one very good way of clearing the CA exam is nothing. Don't leave anything in option. Next question you will be asking, sir, why do you say so, sir? What is the main reason? Can't we leave out of 15 chapters? Can't we just leave 2 chapters in option? What is wrong in that? So imagine this. CA exams are completely unpredictable. Okay. You never know the tough questions are going to be asked from which chapter and the easy questions are going to be asked from which chapter. Okay. You never know that. The examination, the exam paper is really well balanced in terms of asking questions from all the chapters. Okay, all the chapters. Hardly you will see attempts where they have left completely one chapter. Okay, so generally the question is asked in a proper way, covering all the chapters. Imagine that you have left those 2 chapters in option, and you are banking on the other chapters. Correct? This I'm telling from the point of view of scoring excellent marks. Okay, now if your aim is just 40, you can just go ahead with it, but then you're playing with luck. But I'm telling you this with an aim of scoring 75 plus marks, like my students have done in the past. So here I'm telling you that you need to ensure that you're studying each and every chapter. Suppose the chapter that you studied for the examination, a very tough question is asked from that chapter, and you're unable to solve it on the exam day in that pressure in those 3 hours. But the 2 chapters that you left, the most basic area came from that area, that chapter. If you would have just studied a little bit of that chapter, you would have still got those marks. Such a question was asked. Imagine your fate then. And imagine if you need, let's say, 2-3 marks to get to that 200 score, or you need excellent marks, or you need, let's say, 4 to 5 marks to get that exemption mark. Now, these are the turning points that happen. It has happened with me. So I can just clearly tell you that it has happened with me, where there is an answer which I didn't leave that in option, but in the exam, I made a mistake. And because of that, I got affected and it cost me dearly. So that is what I'm telling you, that ensure that you're not leaving anything in option. Okay. So the next point I'm telling is that comprehensive coverage is a must. Okay. So this is the most the best combination. You can see this, that is compact notes, but which are comprehensive in nature. So how can you create this compact notes which are comprehensive in nature? Notes which have great charts, notes which have great diagrammatic presentation, which have flow charts in place, notes which cover big answers with stories, notes which cover areas which, great code words, so that it doesn't take you much time to cover those areas. If you study the point, that is enough for you to write the entire sentence from that point. So these are the notes that you should be looking for, just to save your time on the exam day, because that is something that is equal for everyone. The 28 hours that you get before the exam to prepare. Now, why do I say 28 hours? Before the law paper, you will have your accounts paper, correct? So you will write your accounts paper, you will come back home. On that day, you can study for, let's say, 6 hours. Let's say you come from the examination hall, you come back home at, let's say, 6 o'clock, 6 in the evening. You can study from maybe after getting freshened up, after eating something. You can start at around 6:37. You can stretch up till 12:30 or 1 in the night. So you have 6 hours. Next day, which is the holiday, you can get around, you need to study for 16 hours. You can put it as around 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep. Okay. If you want to be focused while studying. Okay. After that, 1 hour for your food or bathing and all these things. And the other 16 hours, you need to just study. Okay. You need to just study. After that, you have your your law paper day. And on this day, you will have again 6 hours to study, because if you get up at 6 in the morning, you'll get time till 12 noon. And by that time, you'll have to get ready for the examination. You'll have to have your lunch and everything. Okay. So generally, I say that you have to prepare for 28 hours on the exam. And this is the maximum hours that you can give. Of course, you can put plus 1 hour or minus 1 hour, something like that. But you get an estimate that 28 hours is what you have. Now you have to imagine that in 28 hours, what is your reading speed? This is very, very important. You have to ask yourself, what is your reading speed? Many students have a reading speed, which is a great reading speed, which I consider as 15 pages per hour. If you're studying 15 pages per hour, in my opinion, that's a very, very good reading speed. But there are many students, I know them, that they study maybe 6 to 7 pages per hour. So it is very important for you to know your statistics. That is, you to know what is your reading speed. Now you can do the multiplication with me. If you have a reading speed of, let's say, 10 pages per hour, which is a good reading speed, then also in 28 hours, you'll be able to cover only 280 pages. Now, if you study with notes which are around 400 pages or 500 pages, big books, and you are expected to do that front to back in those 28 hours, then it will be difficult because you have miscalculated your potential. So either you need to increase your reading speed, or you need to ensure that the notes are compact and you're doing comprehensive coverage. Okay. Again, when I say, please don't quote me wrong, when I say comprehensive coverage, it means not to leave anything in option. That is a golden rule. Okay. The third part is when you are studying. Okay. There is always phases when you study. Okay. The first phase, which I call it as reading part. Okay. That is when for the first time you're reading that subject. Okay, the professor has taught you that subject. Now you're going through that subject. When you go through that subject for the first time, that is your reading. Okay, that is the first time you're reading that subject. Reading is very important. I'll tell you, I'll come to that once in a while. After reading, you will be doing something called as revision 1, which I'm writing here as R1. Then you will have something called as revision 2, and then you need to put in something called as revision 3. If you want excellent marks, this is the way to go. This is what rankers do. This is what people who score excellent marks do. As I improved in my own CA final preparation, I scored 60 plus marks in 6 out of 8 subjects in CA final. So I can tell you very clearly that what change I did from earlier, how I used to study, and then what changes I made in my own learning phase or in my own routine or the way I used to go about things. I ensured that whatever I'm studying, I'll have to go with this R plus R3 strategy. This is called R plus R3 strategy. That is reading plus revision 1 plus 2 plus 3. So when you do this, it is ensured that you're going to score excellent marks in the exam, because I'll tell you just now how you need to go about it. When you do your reading 1, you have to ensure that you are marking the keywords properly. So the first point is that you are marking your keywords clearly. Keywords are the words which will appear in the examination. Of course, the entire book, whatever notes you're studying, you don't need to by heart everything. You will understand everything, but of course, you will be expected to write some of the keywords in the exam. For example, in the exam, you cannot write borrowing from loans or borrowings from banks or public financial institutions. You cannot just write there as borrowing from banks. You cannot just write it that. You have to write the entire thing. I hope you're understanding. So that is a keyword. Okay, these are the words that should appear in your paper. So it is important for you to mark those keywords very carefully. The words that you will be writing on the exam paper. Okay. Second is when you're reading, you have to ensure that you are using the side area very well. Okay, side area very well. When I say side area, whenever you see a book, there will be some part close to the column which will be blank. Ensure that you are just writing the keyword of every sentence or every point, on the side. For example, the main keyword of this point is filing application. So after the entire sentence, just write the word filing application. Next line you read, the main word there is that, let's say, tribunal will approach the C&AG and the income tax authorities. So just write that tribunal will take the opinion, or tribunal approaches. Just write that tribunal approaches. That's it, 2 words. But write those words. What happens is sometimes when you have to do a quick revision, and if you just see those side words, it gives you confidence. It tells you, okay, oh, this answer I remember, this I know. So that is what you need to use for your own potential. Okay, that is side area. And the last one in relation to reading is to ensure that your numbers are marked well. Numbers you need to highlight. Numbers are marked well. Now, when I say numbers, what are these? When you are studying law, you will have section numbers, rule numbers, form numbers. Within 30 days, within 15 days, within 60 days, all these days you will have. All these things also affect your paper. I'll be talking on that later, but numbers you need to highlight properly. Now, whenever you're reading, after understanding this area, every page you have to ensure that you're doing these three things. That is, keyword should be marked properly, side area should be used properly, where you're writing just in short what that point is, and numbers you're highlighting. When you do this, automatically you will see that your preparation is now going in a much better manner. Of course, even if you don't remember after reading, don't worry. You are doing the groundwork right now. You're doing the groundwork. Okay. Whenever a big building is made, they don't create the first floor immediately. They don't create the ground floor immediately. They first dig the ground. They create a very good foundation. And after putting those iron rods and putting this foundation in place, then they quickly start making the building. This is what we are doing. We are creating the foundation so that your revision 1, revision 2, revision 3 go on in a much smoother manner. Okay. Now, what do you do when you do revision 1? What should you do when you do revision 1? Now, when you do your revision 1, you need to ensure that you're memorizing the keywords. Memorizing the keywords. Now, this is very important because memorizing here is the key. In the exam, there is no doubt that you will be required to write those keywords. So you have to put an effort from now on to memorize those keywords. Of course, when I say memorizing, I am assuming that you must have understood the entire thing. Because if understanding is not done, memorizing doesn't make sense. Whenever you have understood the concept, it is only after that you're required to memorize. And if you have any problems in understanding that area, approach the faculty, approach the professor. If you're learning law with me, come to me, ask me the queries. Okay, 100% ask me the queries. Whatever queries you have will be solved. That is a guarantee that I give to all my students. So ensure that you're memorizing keywords properly. Of course, in my batch, we are using a lot of memorizing techniques. We are using songs, we are using stories, we are using mnemonics, that is code words. We are using the mind maps, the excellent diagrams, which will really help you to memorize big answers, huge answers. Something like section 110, that is postal ballot. You have section 108, that is in relation to voting by electronic means. Big answers. You see the size, open the module and see the size of that answer. But my students answer it like that. The reason being, we are using excellent memorizing techniques. After understanding, when you use smooth, excellent memorizing techniques, that makes your job very, very easy. Okay. So first is use good memorizing techniques. Okay. And memorize those keywords very, very well. Second, ensure that numbers are clear in your mind. Numbers are clear in your mind. Every number, rule numbers, form numbers, section numbers. In CA Inter, in corporate law, there are total 148 sections in your examination. Whenever I speak to a student who has not learned law under me, whenever I ask them, how do you memorize the section number? They say, sir, I simply don't memorize, sir. I don't want to do that by heart. I'll write the other answer very well, but I'll ensure that the section number, I'm not putting an effort to memorize. So when I ask the student why, what are the reasons? He says, simple, sir, why should I remember section 1 to 148? It will fetch me what, half mark, 1 mark. Then when I tell the student that, imagine if per question for that section number, rule number, form number, and maybe penalties also, for all these things, numerical, if you're getting 1 mark or 1.5 mark for every number that you write. Your section number, when you write, there many answers have weightage of half mark. So when you write all these things, if it increases your marks by 1 mark also, and if you're writing 15 questions in the exam, suddenly you're 15 marks up. You're 15 marks up just because you wrote those section numbers. So it is very important for you to memorize those section numbers to ensure that you know the section numbers very well. My students have a section 1 to section 148 in their mind clearly. The reason being is that we put special effort to ensure that special effort, genuinely special effort, with stories, with link method, to ensure that the sections are memorized clearly. Okay. So these are the two things that you need to ensure. And first and last but not the least, that is mark your doubts. Mark your doubts. Now, why do I write this here? The reason being, when you do your reading at that time, you are marking those keywords, you're writing the keywords you're writing the important areas in the side area, and you're underlining the numbers, highlighting the numbers. When you're coming to revision 1, you're doing all those things which I've marked here. But what happens is there's something which is very core to learning, and that is understanding the concept. So if you have not understood any concept by chance, for example, let's say you couldn't attend that session, or you saw the recording of that session, you're not there in the live lecture to ask that query. And when you are learning, you're like, sir, this area, sir, can you give another example in relation to this? So ask that professor immediately. So when you ask the professor immediately, that query gets solved. So that is why mark your doubts and get it done with. And during revision 1 itself, you should mark your doubts in such a way that your queries are solved there and then. Your queries are marked there and then. Okay. Now comes revision 2. Now revision 2 is just building up. Okay. Now it is now you have already, after revision 1, you have already reached your 40 marks level, because that is the kind of learning you will go with. So even if you do reading plus revision 1, 40 marks is okay. You will get it. Now you are trying to build up to and take it to around 55, 60 marks. Okay. Now what do? The memorized keywords, you have to revise. Okay. The word is revise and revise more. Okay. Revise. Just see whether you are able to remember those keywords. The concept is clear or not. Everything is there in your mind. Ensure that everything is fixed. Next is ensure that your sections, or I can say numbers, are clear. And finally, you have to ensure one very important thing. Conceptually, there are no doubts. No doubts at all. Absolutely no doubts. Okay. Now, finally, we come to R3. R3 is your home run. Okay. This is where you tell yourself that, okay, I'm exam ready. Okay. In this, you just, first of all, ensure complete coverage. Even in R1 and R2, you're doing complete coverage, but in R3, you have to just keep your attention that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to study. And this should be very strong in my mind. So ensure complete coverage. Next, if your coverage is complete, after your coverage is complete, done, everything done, then make your control sheet. There is something called as control sheet. Okay. Control sheet. What is a control sheet? Control sheet is a simple 1-page document, which is your game changer on the exam day. The moment from which I started making control sheets, my marks and my result were spellbound. It was excellent. It was something that was unimaginable. So control sheet is what? You write exactly what you're going to do from where. Simple example. Chapter 1 in corporate law is called preliminaries. So you write preliminaries, and then after preliminaries, just write exactly what you are going to study in relation to preliminaries. For example, let's say while reading these areas, you found some ICI question, and an ICI question you had seen that, okay, in the May 2019 paper, exam paper, this question was asked, which was a very different question, something very different. So when you had marked that question, so it should be part of a control sheet. Okay, so a control sheet will look like, for example, okay, I'm going to do law from, let's say, if you're studying law with me, then from Kartik Sir's notes. Along with Kartik Sir's notes, ICI's this question I had found it a little tricky. So I have to study in relation to this chapter, this question. From RTP that was released in November 19, I had marked this question, so that question. Kartik Sir had taken an MCQ session of law, so that MCQ, those two questions of MCQ from this chapter were something which I generally didn't find comfortable, so I'm marking that area. So exactly what you are going to study on the exam day in relation to every chapter, you have to write and ensure that you have everything in one place properly. Once you have these areas in one place, entire portion in one document, then your control sheet is ready, and you are now ready for the exam preparation. That is, you are just waiting for the accounts paper to get over and for the law paper to start, because you are ready with your control sheet and you are just hoping that each one of those areas you are able to complete properly. I'll speak on that, but that is in relation to your notes and preparation. Okay, so I hope this is very helpful. Ensure that you are going in this format. In relation to this part, if there is any query, pause the video right now, put your query in the comment section below, and I will ensure that your comments are solved. Okay, so this is your time. Go through this area and just put your comments down. If you have no queries, then continue with the video. Okay. Okay, now let's go to the second part. That is your 5 marks scoring magnets. Okay, now when you study law, these are the 5 areas that students are generally most scared of. But I can promise you, if you get this right, these are the 5 most easy scoring areas. Most easy scoring areas. Okay, so now what are these? So let's see one by one. First is in relation to section numbers, and I'll take the brother of section number, that is rule numbers. Okay, now how do you study section number and rule numbers? Okay, you have to always find some kind of pairing with them. Okay, some kind of pairing. Always make some kind of pairs so that you are able to remember both together. There is a simple, I'll give you a simple example. When you come to CA final, of course I'm doing this for CA Inter, but when you come to CA final law, at that time I'll be teaching you one good trick. Okay, there is a section called as section 151, which deals with small shareholders director. Okay, now the section number here is section 151, and you know which is a corresponding rule with that section, the rule that goes along with the section, that is rule 7. How do you remember? Is simple. Do 1 plus 5 plus 1 and you will get 7. That's it. That's how you remember it. So simple. So you can easily remember the rule number. There is another section that is there in CA Inter, so I'll teach you that. In CA Inter, there is a section in relation to postal ballot, that is section number 110. Correct? So how do you remember the rule number in relation to that? So the way we do it in the class is, imagine that there is one person, and he is sending the post for the voting part. He is sending the post to 10 cities. Okay, to 10 cities. And in these 10 cities, a total of 22 members reside. So there is this one person, sending it to 10 cities, sending post to 10 cities where 22 members reside. Very simple. Section number is 110 and rule number is 22. That's it. That's how you remember. Very, very simple. Okay, so you will never forget this in life, because you'll remember, okay, postal ballot, section 110, because one person is sending to 10 cities and where 22 members reside. So section 110, read with rule 22. Very simple. You want to do one more with me, okay, so that you can really remember these areas at least. And then join the batch, so that I can teach you all these fun techniques, and your answer concept clarity and answer memorizing will be so smooth that you will find law your most scoring paper. You will enjoy law. Okay, now let's see this part. Now let's see the third one. Section 108, that is voting through electronic means. You know how we do this? Okay, imagine, because of electronic means, what has happened? Your life has become more bliss. Okay, you don't have to exert too much, so you can relax. Okay, so imagine that because of electronic means, what has happened is, there is a person who is sitting peacefully. He has his 2 hands on the side. With this hand, he is showing his 2 fingers, and with this hand, he is making a 0. He's making a 0. Very simple. What is this? This is a section 108, read with rule 20. That is this. So this man is with this and this. So rule 20. That's it. So because your life has become bliss because of electronic means, so that is 108. Read with what? What is he showing with this finger? 20. That is rule 20. That's it. So the corresponding rule in relation to this is rule 20. Now, if you have seen this video, do a challenge with yourself. Tomorrow, not tomorrow or after, a week, just think to yourself, okay, what was that section in relation to electronic means? Suddenly you'll remember, that man, okay, 108, and he's showing 20, correct, rule 20. Suddenly you'll remember that section along with the rule. So there are some techniques that you need to apply to ensure that you're remembering the section numbers. Okay, there are some things that you have to put some creative technique behind it so that you are learning it well. And the creative techniques are all ready with me. Okay, so join so that we are able to learn the sections and the rules in a very smooth manner. The next area is in relation to form numbers. Form numbers. Form numbers are something that blow the examiner's mind, because the level 1 that the students read, that is not learning the section numbers, rule numbers, any other numbers. But what the first step that students take is to learn the section numbers. So some section number students may write. Students who have taken more effort may write the rule numbers. Form numbers, generally students don't write. But if you know the form numbers, it really wows the examiner. Wows the examiner. There is a chapter called registration of charges, in which there are two forms, CHG1 and CHG9. So these two form numbers, if you're writing in the examination, the examiner will feel, wow, this guy has written form number CHG1 and CHG9. This is to register the charges. Okay, this is the main form. So when you write these form numbers, it tells the examiner that yes, this student has prepared. And that is the reaction that you want to create in that examiner when he's correcting your paper. Because when he's correcting, he should be very happy to see your paper, because you have underlined all these keywords. I'll tell you about the presentation part. Wait for that. But he has underlined those areas. He has marked those, marked the right keywords. He has underlined those keywords also. He has underlined the section numbers, form numbers. So the examiner is wowed by your presentation, wowed by the way you have written the paper. And that is the impact of a 75 plus marks paper. Okay, so you need to ensure that this is done properly. Next is penalties. Penalties are some of the area that students are really scared about. Why? Because there is no standardization to it. Every penalty of every section number is different. Whatever section you see where penalty is involved, you will hardly find similar penalties. At one place, it will be penalty up to rupees 1 lakh and rupees 5,000 per day, during which the default continues. At one more place, you will see penalty up to rupees 1 lakh, which may extend to 3 times the amount of fraud that is done. Something or the other, you will find some or the other combination, but which is very dissimilar to each other. So that is where the students get confused. They say, sir, so many penalties of different types are there. Sir, how should I do it? Penalties comes in only one way, and that is revising it again and again and asking yourself that question again and again. What is the penalty in relation to that section number 134? Suddenly you will come to know the penalty. What is the penalty in relation to section number 128? If somebody is asking you that penalty again and again, suddenly it will get registered in your mind. This is one area where repetition really helps. Some areas for memorizing, creativity really helps. Okay, so that you need to know very well. Next is something. Now, this is something which I have seen students do really well in, and I have to honestly admit that students are generally good in this particular area. That is within so many days, within so many months. Okay, but still, sometimes they get confused between days. There's a section called a section 139, in which let's say it's a company other than a government company, and we are talking about the appointment of the auditor. So where the first auditor will be appointed by the board of directors within 30 days. If the board of directors fail to appoint, then the members will appoint in the next 90 days. But the appointment of first auditor in the government companies, what? C&DG will appoint within 60 days after incorporation. If the C&DG fails to appoint, then you will have the board of directors appointing within the next 30 days. If the board of directors don't appoint, then the members will appoint in the next 60 days. So it is 30, 90, 60, 30, 60. You know what we do in the class? We sing a song. You know what the song is? BM, CBM, 39636, 30 dash, 30, 30 dash. With this small tune, suddenly you see the tune. See, BM, CBM, 39636. So BM, CBM, 39636. B is board of directors will appoint within 30 days. If they fail to appoint, the members will appoint within 90 days. In the case of government company, C&DG will appoint within 60 days. If the C&DG fails to appoint, then the directors will appoint within 30 days. If the directors fail to appoint, then the members will appoint within the next 60 days. This is the way you can mold this and turn it to your advantage. So if you find this easy, great. If you find a little bit of difficult also, use this creative technique so that you find it very, very simple. Okay. So these are the 5 mark scoring magnets, which I feel that students genuinely lose the opportunity of scoring excellent marks in these areas. And very simple to remember. These numbers, very, very easy to remember. It is not some mega science, and very easy to, there is no concept in relation to remembering the section number. Sections have concept, but remembering the section number is something that you have to just, remember, correct? Similar in relation to form numbers, similar in relation to penalty, similar in relation to number of days. Like for example, these days we just remember remembered by singing a song. Finally, also rule numbers. There is no concept, of course, concept are inside the rules, the content. But just to remember the number, you have to just simply use creative techniques, smart techniques. So ensure that you're scoring marks in these 5 areas so that your paper is rich with content. Okay. Let's go to the next part. That is time management between the chapters. Okay. Now, this is something that I tell the students when they are studying. They should know which chapter is big, which chapter is medium, which chapter is small. So there is a simple BMS analysis which we do, that is big, medium, small. Very simple. Okay. The chapters that you think are big, the chapters which are actually big are, you can call management and administration chapter. Okay, big chapter, chapter 7, very big chapter. Then you have the chapter of negotiable instruments in other laws, pretty big chapter. Pretty big chapter. In medium chapters, you can have your audit and auditors. Even accounts of companies. In small chapters, you can have preliminaries. One more small chapter, you can have dividend. When you have this analysis done for you, that is BMS analysis done for you, your work becomes much more easier. You're stronger in your answer writing capability. You are stronger in your preparation because you're studying the chapters, knowing how big they are. So you can allot the respective time for it. For example, if you see a big chapter, you can clearly allot, okay, I will need around 2 days to complete this chapter properly from start to end, everything in my mind. I need those 2 days to ensure that these chapters are done very well. For medium chapters, you can say that I need 1 day. For small chapters, you can say I just need half a day to ensure that everything in this chapter is there in my mind without a single mistake. So if you divide the chapters, it will give you a very good time estimate. Let's say you just have around 3 hours to end your day, and you have allotted for law. In those 3 hours, you can tell yourself, okay, preliminaries I had done earlier, no, so I have to just revise one. So preliminaries I can finish in 2 to 3 hours. Every definition properly I can finish in 2 to 3 hours properly. So this is where the time management between the chapters help. If you come to know the chapter size, if you are marking it properly, if you are planning it properly, you will exactly come to know which chapter to take when in your studies. Okay. Come to this part, that is exam day preparation. Okay, how do you need to go in your exam day preparation? Okay, now first of all, I'm dividing this into days because you really have to divide into those 6 hours, 16 hours of the holiday, and then in the end you have another 6 hours. So we need to divide the exam day preparation into these 3 parts. Now, when you study on the first day, that is the first 6 hours that you study, pick up a big one, a big chapter, and pick up a small chapter. Get the satisfaction of putting one big chapter out of the way and give yourself a treat by finishing off one small chapter. Finish it off. Ensure that these 2 are done and you go to sleep saying that, okay, one big and one small, done. Okay, I'm done with this. The other day, the next day when you come, now these 2 chapters, you can pick up any of your choice. Okay, if you want to go ahead, you can take in place of a small chapter, also medium chapter. Go ahead with it. But ensure if you're taking a big and a medium chapter, ensure that both are your favorite chapters. Both are something that you will remember very, very well because you know this at the back of your hand. So ensure that the big and the medium chapters you know very, very well. Okay, and take that up first, something that is confidence giving to you. For example, if you like management and administration chapter, so go for the management and administration chapter first and finish it off. The biggest chapter in your portion, imagine if you're wrapping it up on the first day itself, what kind of confidence you go on the next day. It is excellent. It is, if I give you cricket analogy, it is like India is scoring in a test match. On day 1, India has scored 400 for just the loss of 3 wickets. Imagine when India goes to bat on the second day, how much confidence India will have, because India is already 400 runs on the board and we have just lost 3 wickets. So now the other players can come, start hitting boundaries and play shots so that we can get to 600 or 650, something like that. So you can get the idea here that if you have a big chapter out of the way, you build your confidence. Okay, so pick 2 chapters which you are having very high confidence in and complete those. On these 16 hours, very, very crucial. Okay, very, very crucial. You have to ensure that maximum output is on this day. For maximum output, you need something called as confidence. Okay. For building confidence, always start from the easiest chapter. The chapter that you find the easiest, then your second easiest, third easiest, fourth, then difficult, little bit more difficult, more difficult, most difficult chapter. In that order, you need to take this, take this, take this. So go from your easiest to the most difficult one. Why do I say so? When you pick up the most difficult one in the morning, suppose if it doesn't get over on time, suddenly you will panic. And this I have seen many students go through this. Okay, they say, okay, sir, I'll take the most difficult one first. That strategy, going to the most difficult one, you have to do it during your reading, revision 1, revision 2, revision 3. Because even if the risk is there, there is a risk of that you might lose a day, or you might lose maybe half a day of studies. But here you have the next day, you have the exam, correct? So here you don't want to go wrong in your strategy. So ensure that on this day you're going from easiest to the most difficult. You can go in any order. You can take the big, medium, or small, whatever you want. You have completed one big chapter here. So now you can go in whatever way you want. But you have to ensure that you're going from the most easiest to the most difficult that you find. Okay, there is something that you should do properly. There's something that you need to do in a very, very proper manner. Okay. The next one that you need to do is on the third day, you have to ensure that you are completing the portion. So give around 4 hours for completing the portion. Whatever areas are left, in my opinion, 1 medium and 1 small chapter should be left on the 4th day, or on the last day. And that is something that you should be able to complete. Okay. So 1 medium, 1 small chapter, or 2 medium chapters also, if you find it very comfortable, then you can complete on this day. After that, you need to give 1 to 2 hours to yourself to go through all the numbers as in, again, the section numbers, form numbers, rule numbers, something that you want to quote in the exam. Tell the examiner that you know this very well. So ensure that those that end 1 hour, 2 hours is just given for that, so that you are just quickly browsing through, having the numbers in your mind. Okay, these are correct, these are there in place, and everything is there in place. You have to ensure that you have completed everything in that control sheet. Remember that control sheet? Everything in the control sheet, you have put a tick next to it, or you have striked it off. I used to strike it off, because whatever control sheet I used to make, I used to strike it off. So if it isn't, strike it off, strike it off. There is some other level of satisfaction you get, because you know that, okay, you have completed this task, done. So if you do that, and you have to, just before going for the examination, you look at that control sheet, and everything in that control sheet is striked off, properly striked off. That will give you immense confidence. It will tell you that exactly how you needed to prepare. You are prepared in that manner. So go in that way, so that you are able to write the exam paper properly. Okay, that is in relation to this exam day preparation. So that is how you need to go about with your exam day work. Now, what to do in your 15 minutes reading time? Okay, I promised you I'm going to take you from your preparation right up to your end of the paper. Okay, so that is your 15 minutes reading time starts now. Okay, so how do you need to manage your 15 minutes reading time? Okay, when you see the paper, many students ask me, sir, should I solve MCQs first, or should I not go with the MCQs? I'll tell you regarding that. Wait for it. In your 15 minutes reading time, don't read MCQs. Don't read MCQs first. Don't read MCQs. Don't. Not required. Don't. I'll tell you the reason in some time. Wait. Go through the question and answers part first. Okay. And here you have to make 3 markings if they are allowed. If you are able to, do some very light pencil markings, or if you are able to put some 1 dot also, it is fine. Okay. But you need to 1 dot, or, I'll just tell you a small, a way in which you can just put a mark. It is not considered, it will, hopefully the examiner will not, call for your question paper because of that. But just small thing that you're just for your own understanding. Okay. What you need to do is, you need to look at the paper. And if you know the question really well, put a small tick, or don't do any marking. If you don't do any marking, it means that you know it very well. Okay. Next, if you have some doubt regarding that, some doubts, that, oh, this was this area, but I'm not able to recollect entirely. If that feeling is there, you have to put a small circle next to that answer. Small circle, very light circle with the pencil is also okay. Okay. And third, if you are finding an answer, finding a question very, very difficult, it can happen. It's a CA exam paper, correct? So let's be honest with it, and let's not shy away from the fact that there are some questions which are really bouncers, which are something that you will not be able to, grasp very quickly. So if that thing is there, then ensure that you're putting a small p next to it. You're putting a small p next to it. Okay, p means it is pending. It is pending. Okay. Now, the questions where you had not done any marking, you can go ahead and write with it. The questions which are with a small circle, it means you have a doubt, but you don't remember that answer completely. My suggestion for these questions also is go ahead and write it completely. The questions that you don't know at all and you have no clue where this is asked from, or you have no idea that how did this come in the examination, put a P, that is keep it pending. Okay, that is something that you have to solve at the end. Okay, now see this. In the examination, when you see all the questions there, when you see all the questions, mark properly which question and which order you're going to solve it. Okay, now if you look at the question paper and if you feel that the question and answers part, not the MCQs part, question and answers part, if you look at it, if you know that question number 2, you know all the 3 questions, it means that you have not marked a circle next to question number 2, or you're not put a P next to any of the sub questions of question number 2. So it means that question number 2 is your best. So go ahead with it. That is the first question you should attempt, because go with the best again. Okay, you have to write the best question first. You have to put an impression in the examiner's mind. Next is your question number 5. Let's say in question number 5 you have 2 questions. Question number 5 has 3 sub questions, A, B, C. In A, B, C, you have A and B very, very clear. Okay, A and B you know very well, no marking next to that. And let's say the C part, you have put a small circle. It means that you don't know the answer 100%, but about 50-60% you know the answer. So this is the second best question you can attempt, and hence this is the second question that you will attempt in the examination. Similarly, you have to do a comparative analysis and go ahead with question after question, so that you are going to the last question. Last question is the worst question that you know in the examination. Of course, I hope it is not so bad that you don't know anything of it. All the questions are pending. It should not be like that. Okay. Now, suppose here in question, let's say you answer question number 4. Here you had question number, let's say 3. Now, let's say in question number 3, there was one area which were no marking, so you know it very well. One area which had a circle, it means 50-60% you know it well. And one area which was next to which P was written. So in question number 3, you will attempt the blank part, because you know it very well. So you'll attempt that. Let's say that is sub question number B. So sub question B of question number 3, you are answering properly because you know it really well. Then you put a circle next to C. So let's say you are answering C well. Now here this circle which is there, which you are putting a circle. See, even if you keep it at the end and write, you're going to write that much only. Even if you write it now, you're going to write that much only. So this area which you have put a circle, just write that question. Okay, get it done with. Okay, I know you know only 50-60% of it, but just write it. Don't keep it pending till the end, because otherwise in the end there might be 4 to 5 questions. If they are pending, then you will come under pressure. So whatever questions you know a little bit, just write it down, just finish that answer off. Okay. Finally, write sub question number A and leave the space. Why leave the space? Because this is your pending question. You don't want to waste time right now on a question about which you have no clue. So these kind of questions you will have to attempt at the end. Right at the end, you will put an effort and attempt this question. Okay, very simple, easy, simple to understand. So that is how you have to go through your analysis. Now the main part in relation to, sir, what about MCQs? What about MCQs? When your time starts, go through the MCQs. Don't do it in a 15 minutes reading time. Why? Because even if you read the MCQs in a 15 minutes reading time, again you will 100% read the MCQs before answering that question, because that's a human tendency. Because the paper has come in front of you, the question paper is there, answer paper is there. Now before attending the MCQ, you are bound to read the MCQs once again, or after reading the entire paper, now read the MCQs part. That is also fine, but keep the MCQ part reading pending, because in any case, when you're before answering that MCQ, you are going to read that MCQ once again. So why waste that reading time and not invest that reading time in your main questions reading? Okay, so after reading the MCQs, after you receive when your paper starts 3 hours, go to the MCQs. Okay, invest let's say 5 to 10 minutes in that and see whether you are able to attempt the MCQs. When you are reading the MCQs, you get an idea where to place this. Should I place it before question number 5 or question number 4 or question number 3? You have to place it somewhere, or even if it is one of the best things, suppose MCQs, you know a lot, you're very confident, then attempt it as the first question, but invest time in that after you receive your paper. Okay, I think it will be much more, much better for you if you do that. Okay. Why I'm telling this, because many students tell me, sir, I was just reading the MCQs, I didn't read the other paper. Then when the paper came, I again read the MCQs, because before marking the answer, I just wanted to see whether I have read it correctly or not. So it means that the student is investing 2 times in reading the MCQs. Okay. Last part is in relation to paper presentation, main area. Sir, what should I do in relation to the paper presentation, sir? How should I go about it? Okay. So let's see this area in relation to the paper presentation. Always remember, happy birthday to you. Simple. Okay. What is happy birthday to you? Always ensure that your headings are correct. Headings are correct. When I say headings, it means the section number that you're writing or the concept that you're starting with. For example, there is a concept asked in relation to shelf prospectus. So you have to write on that. There's a concept asked in relation to, let's say, where can the company distribute the amount received under IEPF section 125. So that area you have to write. So the headings that you write, the concept that has been asked, when you write that part, you have to focus on that part first, because the examiner wants to know what knowledge do you have in relation to that area. So first go with the headings part. Okay. When you see the headings part, ensure that your headings or whatever you're writing is not exceeding 4 to 5 lines. Sometimes I see that the headings is bigger than the main area. So it should not be more than 4 to 5 lines. Okay. So ensure that whatever concept you're writing, give a nice gist about it, a brief about it, and then go ahead with the main answer. Second is in relation to box. What is box? Whenever you write any numericals, okay, any numericals that you write, again, I have told you this earlier also, that is in relation to any form numbers, any section numbers, or rule numbers, penalties, any within so and so days, within 3 months, all these things when you write, always put a box next to it. So whenever you're writing section number, you have to highlight to the examiner that, see, you have put in effort, you know this very well. Many students are shy away. They say, sir, I will underline at the end, sir, when the paper gets over. When the paper gets over at the CA level, you are not having enough time to underline. That is a fact. That is a fact. So what you have to do is, after every question is over, invest around 20-30 seconds and ensure that you are quickly boxing all the numericals. Quickly boxing all the numericals. With this, I'll tell you one more area that you need to do, and that is you have to quickly ensure that you are underlining the keywords, underlining all the keywords. Remember the keywords in which you had put the effort earlier. When you were doing your reading one, you had marked, underline those keywords, which I told you will be required to write these keywords on the exam day. Ensure that you're telling the examiner that, see, I know these keywords very well. I've done these keywords properly. So ensure that you're telling that to the examiner. So that is nothing but underline those keywords very well. When your keywords are underlined, and when your numericals are boxed, suddenly your paper has some shine. The paper's feel is very rich. The examiner knows, oh, no, this student is destined to get 70 plus marks, 75 plus marks in law. And finally, two presentation areas that you have to genuinely work if you are not good at it. Okay. First is in relation to cancellation. And second is in relation to spacing. Okay. Now, if you see in presentation, I have not mentioned anything about handwriting. Okay. Because I firmly believe that handwriting and presentation are not the same thing. I have seen students having a very bad handwriting, but the presentation of the paper is still very good. Now, then what forms part of the presentation? The amount of gaps that you're leaving between points. Your paper doesn't look very stuffy. It looks very neat. There is a gap between each and every point. That is where spacing comes in. When you cancel, you are not canceling in a cluster. For example, you're not canceling in this manner. You're putting just a simple line stroke. So the examiner will only note that cancellation when he is reading that part. Only then he will say, okay, this student has cancelled this. But if you make such kind of cancellation, you are making puddles in your paper, and that makes it really not, good to look at. And if you tell me that, sir, at the CA level, presentation doesn't matter, presentation always matters, always matters. Even if we say that in CA paper, presentation doesn't matter, an examiner who has checked around 50, 60 papers, when he sees the 61st paper, you want to make him feel good about the paper that he's checking. You want him to look at the paper and say, wow, this student has written, this student has not even written, has presented in such a nice manner. You want to give him that, that feel. So that is why you need to ensure that you are presenting properly. You are cancelling with a single stroke. Also, suppose if you have written, sometimes it happens in exams, you are writing a paragraph, then you realize, no, I didn't want to write that. So I have seen many students do this kind of cancellation on the entire paragraph. This, then they'll put this line, they'll make 2 mountains, they'll make a river also there. Now you see how this looks. So it really destroys the presentation. It really destroys the presentation, and it really doesn't give a good feel. Imagine if this is done in the simple 1-line way. This looks much neater, right? Conveys the same thing, but much neater. That is what you need to put a habit of. And that will only come if you write test papers. When the more test papers you write after you're studying, after every revision, I always recommend that you have to write a test paper. I will make a video if possible on how to write the test papers of audit and law both, how to divide chapters in such a way that you should study that chapter and then write a test. That is something that we can do. And I'll ensure that in the coming months, one video is made on that. Okay. So that was in relation to your presentation of the paper. Okay. Ensure that these are put in place. MCQs I've already discussed in this part. I've already discussed in relation to the MCQs. That MCQs you need to read it. Don't read it at the beginning in the first 15 minutes. Read the entire paper, then go to the MCQs part. Or even if you take the 15 minutes for reading the entire area other than the MCQs, read the MCQs after you receive the paper. Even that is fine. But don't read the MCQs at the beginning. When you read the MCQs, you have to use the elimination strategy sometimes to write the MCQs. A special video on that I'll make so that it is very clear in relation to how the MCQs should be attempted. Okay, so that will be either on the YouTube channel here or on Unacademy. So ensure that you are subscribing to me, and we can learn more. Subscribing to my lectures on Unacademy, the special lectures are absolutely free. So you can download the Unacademy app and you can just search Kartik Sir. You can just follow me. So whenever I'm coming with a new lecture, you will be updated. You will get a notification on your phone that Kartik Sir is going to come up with this topic. And then you can simply attend that lecture and ask me questions there. Ask me questions on the YouTube channel and be very free. Okay, ask whatever doubts you have and I'll be here to help you in a strategic manner. The end goal, I always tell the students, your goal and my goal at the end is the same. We all want to see you clear. Okay, so ensure that we are doing that. Okay, thank you everyone. It was a joy to tell all these tips to you. These are tips that are, from the core of my heart, because I have seen during my journey of my friends and journey of my students. And all these tips are from those areas. The more students I teach, I'm very sure that I'm going to come up with more suggestions for you all so that you keep growing. Okay. If you have any more suggestions regarding what all videos you should make, I'll be very happy to guide you all, to help you all. Please let me know. That will be great for you, for me, for a greater understanding. I wish you all the very best. Take care. See you. Bye.